you off screen and move straight into this interview with Lisa from Bumpin Blends. And we've got Paul from Sea Monster Studios who's going to do the interview. How are you guys doing?
Great. How about yourself?
Great.
All right, you both sound great, looking good. I'm gonna back out here and let you two start the conversation.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Derek, for having us, and want to thank Lisa for taking the time to sit down and talk with me today, and being a great client to work with. We've enjoyed working with Bumpin Blends. They've got a very unique and impressive story that I think people can learn a lot from. So, a couple of quick facts about Bumpin Blends. They started in business in February of 2019. They've got over 400 current subscribers. They are or have served over 10,000 customers. Their current retention is upwards of 6 months. And at this point in the game, they're closing in on the $1 million gross sales mark. So pretty impressive, and excited to dig a little bit. I'll let Lisa say a couple of things and we'll get right to it.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you for having me and inviting me to be here. I'm really excited to chat with you. And I think you kind of nailed Bumpin Blends. We are frozen pre-blended smoothie cubes. So our customers can order on our site and subscribe, hence the 400 active subscribers. That's current customers who are subscribed to get their bundles every other week, and just add liquid and blend. We've kind of made smoothies super easy for people to have at home.
Awesome. Well, on that note, Lisa, maybe you could talk a little bit about how you got into the frozen smoothie game and where, what your background is.
Definitely. Slinging smoothies. How did I get here? I am a registered dietitian with a master's in nutrition, and I was working one-on-one with patients in hospitals, and then I ended up landing at a scientific wellness startup. It was really innovative and exciting, and I really liked that startup atmosphere. And then I got pregnant, and I was on my maternity leave, and sort of my 8th month of pregnancy, I got this idea for Bumpin Blends. Because I had been having smoothies every day of my pregnancy to keep my symptoms at bay. And I, as a dietitian, would take certain ingredients and combine them together to optimize different symptoms I was having. So if I was feeling really moody, if I had low iron, I would sort of make this concoction that would solve that problem I was facing, and that would be a smoothie. And so my husband was like, "This is amazing and delicious. You could sell this." All kind of saying the same thing. And the idea for Bumpin Blends was born about a month before my daughter was. And so when I went on my maternity leave from my regular job, I just strapped her into a baby carrier, went into my garage, and got to work. And so we launched right around the time she was 6 months old.
Amazing. What were the first few things you did when you actually had this idea and realized it was going to come to fruition? What was your kind of out of the gate moves?
The first thing I did was sit down with my husband and say, okay, how much money can I spend on this before it becomes a problem? And so we sort of made this agreement that I would take, X amount of money, took $18,000 up front of our savings, and said, if at the end of this $18,000, we're making money and it's got legs and it's going well, super, let's keep going. But if this money's gone and we really haven't done anything here, then I should be thinking about doing something else, solely because, we had a new baby at home. I had a great job. And so the first thing we did was think of the name, get the domain. And then I was like, let's be, how can I be as scrappy as possible? How can I do this the right way without blowing through all my money, and then get funding and kind of go this huge, kind of take on debt or anything else. And so the first thing I did was build the website myself on Squarespace. And I chose Squarespace, even though it's not ideal for e-commerce like CPG products, because it was really user-friendly and it was cheap. I didn't need to pay for all these expensive apps. I didn't need to hire a developer. I could do it myself. And it was like really low hanging fruit to just get a website out there, see if people are even interested in smoothie cubes. So I built the website myself, got the domain, and wrote out a business plan myself, and started doing little focus groups with friends and with competitors' customers. So I went to bigger kind of smoothie products, smoothie delivery, found their customers, reached out to them, asked if they were smoothies, and did focus groups with them to find what was working and what wasn't working with our competitors.
Awesome. And then what did you do once you decided you wanted to move forward and had all that taken care of in order to get your first customers?
So once I had the product, and I did everything really scrappy. I like bought packaging on Amazon. I know that's not scrappy at scale, but I was like, before I place a huge purchase order, let's just start slow. And I did little pop-ups at stores in LA. I did little expos and like fun little pop-ups in person where I got to talk to people and get to know them, get our first few customers, our first 20 customers, our first 30, 50, and was literally making these cubes in silicone ice cube trays, in standing freezers, and popping them into bags that I was ordering on Amazon, putting stickers on the bags. Like my husband and I, every other night would be, even when we had hundreds of customers, every other night would be putting stickers that I printed on Vistaprint on bags from Amazon. Like we'd throw on a movie and just sticker bags for hours, and just kind of DIY to make it work. And yeah, that's kind of how we started to grow with these little in-person word of mouth events.
Awesome. Well, and as you grew and started shipping and fulfilling orders, obviously the logistics side of things came into play.
To us.
If you didn't look into ahead of time, you certainly kind of ran into headlong once you realized you were going to be dealing with shipping frozen products. So talk me through that sort of process a little bit and, the growth that went along with it.
Yeah. Number one tip for frozen product, CPG, shipping, don't. That's like, I've had people be like, I really want to get into the frozen food business. Can I take you out to lunch? I'm like, you don't need to take me out to lunch. Don't do it. It is it's a logistical nightmare. I mean, it's really hard when it comes to shipping frozen food, especially if you are scrappy and you don't have a ton of funding. You don't have, a board of directors who all have experience in big frozen food companies and connections. If you're starting small, frozen food can be really stressful. Even if something as UPS would just like decide not to come and just be like, oh yeah, we were too busy. And I'm like, yeah, but we have standing pickup and like, you have to come. And they're like, we don't really care. We're not coming today. We'll come tomorrow. We'll get them tomorrow. Like we've added you onto tomorrow. And I'm like, well, I've got thousands of boxes with tens of thousands of pounds of dry ice that I paid for, like sitting in a hot warehouse. So you kind of have to go. So things like that where UPS just doesn't show up and you got to figure out what to do. Major logistical problems, freezers going out, lots of problems like that. And I think with companies starting and you've got upfront funding, you've got a lot of mentors and people to talk to, frozen foods, a lot of people use co-packers, which is great. Highly recommend that. But if you are trying to sort of do the manufacturing and logistics side yourself, you just always have to have a plan B and then a plan C and a plan D, and just always being prepared for all the problems that could arise when it comes to handling your own manufacturing and fulfillment. And that's something with Bumpin that I've learned a lot about. My husband kind of jokes that I'm like not just the CEO to like a frozen food company, I'm also a manufacturing company. So we have like our own factory and warehouse in Los Angeles, where we make all the blends and ship them out from there. And I've definitely learned a lot about manufacturing.
Well,
and yeah.
I know you mentioned to me, and it's something that stuck out that I think people can learn from about the whole logistic things, and that is about negotiating your pricing and just make sure that you're leveraging your partners and finding ways that that you can negotiate the best deal for yourself. So, in regards to marketing, what's worked best for you? It seems like you put a pretty big priority on influencer marketing, or that's been a part of your strategy anyways. And so tell people a little bit about like what your runway to marketing was as you ramped up.
Yeah, influencer marketing has been really huge for us. And on the manufacturing side of things, like you mentioned with negotiating pricing, I mean, same goes for marketing, but really with everything. That was one of my big things when I first started Bumpin Blends. People would like give me a price for something, and I was just like, okay. And I overpaid for so many things, like event pop-ups where they were like, yeah, it'll be 15 grand to serve the breakfast at this event. And like, now I would think, wait, I'm providing breakfast to all your attendees and you want me to pay you? And now but back then I was just like, sure, seems reasonable. And so negotiating pricing is huge in manufacturing when you're talking about sourcing materials from different countries, or even within the United States. It's I think a big part of that. But additionally, when it comes to working with influencers and marketing, one of the mistakes I made starting out was paying PR companies. I feel like you just make that assumption as a small business that you're like, oh, well, every company has a PR company and that's how you get press and that's how you get influencers and stuff. So let me just pay these strangers, $5,000 a month to get the word out about my business. Nobody is going to sell your business as well as you do. Nobody's going to sell your business a quarter of as well as you do. So to pay someone else to be doing that is like extremely foolish, in my opinion. I did it myself. But no PR company that I think I paid 2 different PR companies because I was like, well, the first one didn't work. Let me try a different one. They didn't last longer than a month and a half or so before I was like, this is clearly not working, because, when I'm doing our own PR, which is what I do now, and I've done other than those, couple months with PR companies, I do all of our PR and marketing myself, because I'm the one who's going to be following up and, thinking of these creative, unique ways to get our smoothies into the hands of the right people. And so nobody's going to put that kind of hustle and passion behind it. And nobody's going to write that email with the kind of heart that is going to make a writer, editor at Forbes or People or wherever you want to get featured to say like, whoa, this is something special. Nobody's going to write that email better than you are. So doing your own PR is really important for small business owners, in my opinion. And then influencer marketing was what you asked about, but influencer marketing has been really big for us. And that's something that has been a learning curve as well. I don't think that expensive paid influencers is the right way to go for small businesses, because you can go through money really quickly. And on the topic of being scrappy, you don't really know what you're getting yourself into with an influencer. You could have someone with 1 million followers that leads to no sales. And then you could have someone with 20,000 followers that leads to crashing your website with sales. It is seemingly kind of a crapshoot. Every influencer is so different that to pay some arbitrary fee that they decide is their fee is just kind of crazy. And then it also leads to really ingenuine posts about you. Like, I think we all follow people on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever you follow people. But, when they have the whole like hashtag ad, let me show you these vitamins that I take every day. And I love, it's just like not, I don't know. I wouldn't look at that and be like, yeah, I really want to buy that. I'm like, oh, wow, they paid for that. Versus if you were to gift an influencer your product and say, hey, I'm just starting out. I'm new. I really want feedback. Can you, just taste my product? You don't have to share if you don't want to, but, I want to send you a gift. That can lead to an influencer saying like, hey, I don't work with this brand, but this was just so amazing. I had to share it with you. And bam, you've got yourself a very genuine public review shared with an audience advertisement for your brand. And all it was a free product sent to them. And you might even get them as a customer too, which wham bam. So,
well, you mentioned something in there about sales, and so that's sort of a good runway towards the Shopify platform, and when you transition to Shopify and how that impacted your business and the change.
Yeah, the transition to Shopify was huge for us. It was something. So we transitioned from Squarespace to Shopify in June of 2020. And now like I said, I built Squarespace myself. I just up all night Googling like how to make columns on a web page on Squarespace and that sort of thing. I have zero tech background whatsoever. My husband's a developer, but he opened up Squarespace and was like, this is not the kind of developer work I do.
Sure.
And he was like, I don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. So, and same with Shopify too. He was like, what's an app? He just is on a different side of dev, but, anyway, so we started on Squarespace, and I knew I wanted to transition to Shopify because, of course, we're an e-commerce business, we're a subscription business. We have a 24/7 text message feature with every subscriber gets their own 24/7 nutritionist via text message. And on Squarespace, I was doing all of that manually myself using Google Voice. So as you could imagine, providing a 24/7 text service to hundreds of customers at one time using Google Voice, like really wasn't scalable at all. And we grew, and I kind of made this deal with myself that one of the first big things I was going to invest in once I knew that we had legs and we were doing this was moving over to Shopify. And when I talked to different developers, I did like a stepwise decision, and you know about this, Paul, because I work with CMonster now, but I knew going into it that if I wanted to get a website that was going to be like, bam, check all my boxes, like, holy smokes, this is amazing, it was going to cost me, 20, 30 grand for some of the features I wanted, like the quiz or the 24/7 nutritionist, like all these different things that I wanted integrated into our site were going to be really expensive. And so when I first made that transition, I was like, I'm not going to wait until I have that kind of money just sitting around waiting to be spent. I'm going to kind of ease into it. And so I hired a developer for about 8 or 9 grand. I just said, can you just recreate what I did on Squarespace and just move it onto Shopify? Just so that we can use Shopify apps, we can sort of start to integrate more advanced features into our site. Something as simple as reviews. Squarespace didn't have that for me. And so he built it really scrappy. There was so much he couldn't do at that price, but at least I got onto Shopify. I was there. I could get reviews from customers. I could use Klaviyo. I could integrate these apps and just sort of make it a bit more advanced and make the customer experience better as well. They could kind of just have a better experience overall managing their subscription. And then I knew I was going to continue to save up so that I could make those enhancements as I went. And so it was wildly successful. Like just switching from Squarespace to Shopify, we went from, 10, 12 grand a month being like a really exciting, awesome month to 50 grand being an exciting, awesome month. So it was funny how like only 1 or 2 months prior, I was like jumping for joy when we hit 14 grand in a month. And then 2 months later, I was like crying. I was so upset because we only made 36 grand that month or something. And my husband was like, seriously, this is like, pump the brakes, put things in perspective. So Shopify, like it was instant, like it just completely transformed the business. We had all these different kind of like flows and ways that people could enter in their email and then get into an email flow. It just, as anyone in e-commerce knows, like that's huge for a small business. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And you started to talk about some of the tools that are out there, and kind of your tech stack and what you're using, and if you can maybe talk a little bit about the ones that you feel like are making the biggest impact to your business, and share with people like some tips there.
Yeah. I just switched from Yotpo to Akendo for reviews and cannot say enough good things about Akendo. I started with Yotpo because I was really naive and I was like, everybody uses Yotpo. Like, it's the biggest, it's the best. Why wouldn't I use it? Why even explore anything different for reviews? And it was super expensive every month. And to pay for some more advanced features, like being able to send review emails that are branded through Klaviyo into our existing flows, etc., adding photos and videos, those, or integrating it into a loyalty program, those sorts of features were so expensive that I just app for reviews. I'm paying the same amount as I was with Yotpo, but our reviews went through the roof. Like, I think we had Yotpo for almost a year and had gotten like 65 reviews total. It was just awful, a total bust. And with Akendo, within a couple months of having it, we gotten like over 100 reviews, and all with photos and videos and like just amazing response from our customers. And so I can't recommend that enough. And I think going with the app that everybody goes with just because it's the app everyone goes with isn't always the right choice for every business. So really exploring the different apps and what they have to offer. And so, in a similar note is our 24/7 nutritionist text. So we use Klaviyo for emails. And recently Klaviyo launched SMS, and they've been like hounding me about moving our SMS, like using more of the Klaviyo SMS, but we use Postscript for our 24/7 nutritionist. And Postscript is a newer text message app for Shopify, and it, I think, is probably not, it's a bit buggy sometimes in terms of like versus something like Klaviyo and some of the other, I know there are other text message apps out there. I get a lot of emails from text message apps wanting us to use their app. And Postscript, I think it's not always perfect. However, it has one feature that has transformed how my team responds to the text messages. So, with all these text message apps, they all kind of make this assumption that you have a team that's sitting in front of a computer 24/7 to respond to text messages. And we don't have that. It's me, and then I have like my customer service team and stuff. So my team really needs the ability to respond to text messages from their phone. And so I'm in Poland right now, visiting family, and like I have my phone here, and if some customer messages their 24/7 nutritionist, I will get a notification on my phone from Postscript. And more importantly, I can respond to that text message from my phone. And Klaviyo doesn't have that feature. They're not going to be able, you'd have to log into Klaviyo to respond to it. And so that one single feature allows me to ignore any other feature that another company might have better than Postscript, because they don't have that. They don't have the ability for me to reply on the go.
Well, and I think what you said is great advice, and that is that the largest guy on the block isn't necessarily the best fit, and there are use cases for every different app out there that have fits like a glove, or the best fit, and so people should always be considerate of that and doing their homework for sure. What's in the future for Bumpin Blends? I mean, obviously big growth and doing great things. What do you see on the horizon?
Yeah. Throwing fuel on the fire, keep growing. We have a couple things down the pipeline that I can't really talk about, but we have our fall flavors coming out next month. That's always a huge hit and always so much fun. We have a lot of fun playing with the marketing of our fall flavors. any of our limited edition flavors. We have so much fun marketing them. Like we have our bangin' banana split for sex drive is always a really fun one to throw marketing at, because we just like just make it completely ridiculous. And then same with the fall flavors as well. So we have that coming up immediately as fall flavors next month. But really in the future for Bumpin Blends is growing. We've kind of hit these stages where our growth gets to a point where it happens a bit faster than we can keep up. And we're at that phase right now. And so going from, me and my baby in a baby carrier, blending smoothies in my garage, to our factory and fulfillment center and everything in LA, now we're thinking like, okay, how are we going to get an East Coast situation going? Is this still going to stay under our roof, or are we going to move to a co-packer and kind of go a completely different route, starting from scratch and outsourcing some hiring and stuff? It's all just been really exciting, but it is a lot going on at one time. So just continuing to grow, I think, solving problems as they come.
Yeah, those are definitely good challenges and fun times.
Always good problem.
Congrats on on the growth and stuff. I want to leave a few minutes for Q&A, but if you were to give maybe a last piece of advice, and then maybe like one thing you've learned along the way that people could possibly sidestep or avoid the pitfall to make their journey a little easier or faster.
Yeah. And I just remembered a secret that you and Derek and I had talked about sharing of like, oh, this is going to be a huge fun secret for people. And I completely forgot to mention it in the influencer front. So I will give that advice here too. But so rather than just like lead with that, when it comes to finding influencers, one of the things that we had talked about was how Bumpin Blends has gotten so many large celebrity influencers and talking about our product. And I mentioned gifting and sending it to them for free, because if you were to have someone like, Chrissy Teigen or Ashley Tisdale, all these big celebrities talk about your product, it would probably be extremely expensive. And so one way that we've gone about getting our product into celebrity hands, my kind of secret sauce is, obviously you can't just like slide into their DMs on Instagram. No one will ever reply to you if that's what you're doing. And you certainly can't like email like hello@jessica@honestcompany.com or something like that.
Right.
And so what I've done to get our bigger celebrity clients and customers has been using IMDb Pro, which I don't know why more entrepreneurs don't use. And I really probably am going to regret sharing this with everybody. But IMDb Pro is a database used for it's the internet, IMDb. And so people in the industry use IMDb Pro almost as a LinkedIn. And so, you can pay for an IMDb Pro account, and that gives you the contact information for everybody's managers and agents and PR people. It kind of makes finding the right contacts really easy.
Well, that's definitely the little nugget that I was looking for, and hopefully people will follow up on that and be able to learn from it or have
right. I felt bad that I had mentioned I would tell people that, and then I glossed over it and forgot to mention it. So now we'll see if I regret that. But in terms of other pieces of advice, I really think the biggest thing you can do is just trust your own ability to throw your grit and passion into it. Like, you don't need a fancy PR company. You don't need an overpriced app. You don't need an expensive supplier. Like, you don't need some co-packer who says you can't do this by yourself. Like, you just need to know what you're capable of doing and put that work in to do it. If it means that you're on Alibaba until 3 a.m. finding the right packaging for you, do it. If it means that you are scouring IMDb Pro and emailing every manager of every actor on the face of the earth to get your product into their hands, you are going to sell your company better than anyone else. You are going to be the person doing the critical thinking to find the right tools for your company better than anyone else. So it's really about the energy and the time and the grit that you put into it. That's going to be more valuable than any agency, any app, anything that you could throw money at to do it for you.
Well, that's really awesome advice. And if people aren't feeling your passion, I obviously have felt it through the projects that we've done together, and love working with you and the growth and stuff, and appreciate you taking the time and sharing some tips and tools, and hopefully people will find some takeaways that they can apply to their businesses.
Thank you. And I think I mentioned to Derek too, we are happy to share a exclusive code with everybody, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to share that or.
Where is that code? Give me the.
I believe the code is just eCommerce tech, all one word.
Let's share it here in chat. That is awesome. I think I'm going to take you up on that because this looks amazing. Here, let me share my screen really quick and show everybody what we're looking at here. These yummy smoothies, so good and delicious for so many different purposes, not just like for taste, for health. It gets for nutrition. You mentioned iron deficiency.
Yeah.
I love it. So definitely recommend. And the site is so clean. And you mentioned like how you had to kind of start small and build it up to there. It just looks so good. And I think people get an immediate feel of being welcome to this brand when they hit the homepage.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That site is actually like very close to what I originally had built on Squarespace, but like the functionality is next level, and SeaMonster has actually been huge. We just released this new version of the site with like this. Our quiz has just gotten like a huge upgrade and everything. It's so I'm obsessed with it right now. So that's all SeaMonster's
doing. What it's doing in the back end for you behind the scenes is
yes.
Even more impressive. There's a lot of less manual calculations going on, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, you guys this week in particular are like basically taking my operations director who worked 40 to 50 hours a week is now becoming one button on the back end that you just click, and I'm just like so excited. I'm waiting. I'm just pumped.
Yeah. And Lisa, you're a good poster child for the the struggle of finding the right technology products as well. So you're like, don't always go with the big successful one. And I'll have a session tomorrow where I talk more about it, but it's exactly that. Yeah, it's like popularity when it comes to the tools to use doesn't align with what's best for me right now, and so it gets really, really dicey. But I can see that you've made a lot of progress. Quiz, reviews, logistics, and inventory management, which is that's got to be so scary in your line of work.
It's a learning curve.
Yeah. and having extra freezers maybe now so that if one freezer goes out, you're not you're not out of product.
Yeah, the stories of me like getting on Craigslist at 1 a.m. because the freezer, like we used to store some of our freezers in our home garage. And so at one point, my garage had like 4 freezers in it to store smoothies that were already made. And then like the power would go out and I'd have to like jump on Craigslist to try and find a used freezer that I could pick up immediately to like throw all. It was just, we've had a ton of stories like that. And now, yes, luckily, I never have to worry about that again. And none of our freezers are from Craigslist anymore. So
driving to the grocery store to get ice in the middle of the night just to make sure your inventory doesn't go bad.
I've done that too. I've bought in like coolers. It was like Target or Home Depot, something that was open at 10 p.m. Like those giant camping coolers. Yeah. Oh, I just went and I bought 5 of them and I had them in my daughter's room, like in her nursery, just lined up and filled with ice and stuff, because it's like, yeah, that stuff just happens. Like it just happens when you're starting out and you have a product-based business, frozen product-based business is you're gonna have issues like that in the beginning if you're trying to do the manufacturing yourself.
I love it. I also loved how you started with knowing that there was an investment. I think there are a lot of early stage people with ideas that are trying to launch a store and they think they're going to make money right away. And I'm like, no, you definitely you need to give yourself a runway because you're going to have to spend money. There's definitely an investment. And I can see that you've come out on the other side of it successfly, and I'm sure there and I'm 100% sure that the reason of that is through grit and tenacity.
Thank you.
And then of course the niche, all the other things help, niche expertise, getting into it. finding the right tools and the right partners also help. But grit and tenacity got you all those things. So thank you so much for being here with us, Lisa. We're going to share that code so that people can sign up on Bumpin Blends if you're as hungry as I am for a smoothie right now. and thank you, Paul, for interviewing her as well.
Yeah,
thank you both so much.
Thanks, Derek, for having me. If people are interested or want to talk projects, Paul at seamonsterstudios.com. Love to chat. And I don't think, Lisa, it was ever mentioned what the actual discount code is for. So maybe before we go, you can close with exactly what you're offering. I think it was a pretty healthy discount.
It is $40 off any bundle over $100. So it could be, any bundle there. $40. Yeah. The 14 blend is really popular. The 21 blend is the most popular. But yes, $40, not $14. But yeah, and the code is just eCommerce Tech, all one word.
I'm looking at these blends. Man, these look so good. Oh, cookie dough.
They're cookie dough. You need cookie dough. You need cookie dough. You need matcha. If you're into matcha, it's amazing.
I don't know why, as an older person, the peanut butter and jelly appealed to me. But
peanut butter and jelly is really good. Peanut butter cup is great. Watermelon in paradise is great. Ginger snaps is like my favorite. I think ginger snaps is just like unreal amazing. Somebody recently told me it tastes like a Cinnabon.
Wow.
Which is really great. You really can't go wrong. They're so good. That's why we have so many flavors. I keep trying to cut back on flavors, and it's just I can't. Not gonna.
Do you need any product testers?
Right. I know my team in our manufacturing is like loves they're always like it's just tasting smoothies all day. It's the best.
Nice.
Awesome. All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you both so much. We're going to move right into our next session.
Cheers.
Thank you guys.